A very good evening, and thanks for clicking on to Vogan's European Outlook for Monday, the 20th of March. Yeah, a little bit of a different setting for today's video. I'm actually sitting in the car. My good lady has got a little job to do, so I thought while I'm waiting for her to come back out, I would do today's video. So yeah, I'm always thinking about my beloved subscribers wherever I am. So I thought, I was contemplating, if I'm being honest, maybe not doing a video today because I'm always forever thinking, what is it fresh? What is it something like new that I can talk about with regards to the weather pattern and whatnot? Of course, we looked at the global aspect in yesterday's global weather and climate report. So do check that out if you haven't already done so. If you haven't already done so, also please indeed hit that subscribe button. I am now starting to enter a quieter time, a naturally quieter time of the year when folks do tend to drop off slightly, and I can totally appreciate that. So, but I would encourage you, if you're interested in weather and climate and the bigger aspects in terms of how our weather develops and materializes, where it comes from. I know it comes from the sky, but you get my idea. So please do stick around because there is a lot of interesting things that will still be looked at and talked about in the next couple of months, especially as I start to build my summer forecast and then deliver that to you sometime around the very end of May, into the early portion of June. I will have the summer forecast, and I think we've got some very interesting developments now starting to take place within the equatorial Pacific, and that could have significant impacts on the European summer coming up. So plenty of reason to hang around, so I do encourage you to do so if you can, if you want, and if you're not interested really in summer-like weather, that's fair dues. I'll see you again later on in the year. But anyway, it looks as if we are going to stay largely on the slightly milder theme through at least the first half of the week and into possibly a turn to cooler as we progress through the second half of the week. A very messy picture, a lot of rain in the next week or so to fall a further 100 plus inches, millimeters of rain. Wow, 100 inches, that would be a pretty scary concept, wouldn't it? So an extra 100 millimeters of rain is likely in some west-facing areas of the British Isles and indeed Ireland over the next 7 days as the Atlantic remains the driving force. It looks as if with that area of low pressure in the means kind of sticking to the northwest of the British Isles and not really moving through as quick as initially thought, it means that the majority of any cold air will stay a little bit further to the north of the British Isles. So a fairly mild week to come. This is off the ECMWF, by the way, the 850 temperatures. And you can see here that we are largely in a mild sector at the moment here, with an area of low pressure staying to the west of the British Isles. That opens the southwesterly door to mild conditions coming in from the southwest, and as we play it through the next several days, what we will see is that colder staying predominantly north of the British Isles. We may start to see a little bit of a cooler setup coming in with the development of these areas of low pressure that may bring a widespread gale situation probably for the middle portion of the week. So we need to pay attention to this. Not only are we going to see some significant amounts of rain on top of what we've already seen, but we are also going to start to crank the gales across the British Isles as we go through the course of this week. So you can see here there's 3 centres of low pressure here, and of course this is the air mass temperature chart here. So it largely shows that we're in relatively mild conditions across the bulk of England, Wales and Ireland, a little bit cooler across the north of the British Isles. So therefore, we may see the rain-snow line coming down a little bit. So the highest hills, I think, will start to pick up some snow as we progress through this week. But that's about it, really. Rain is going to be the noteworthy aspect, along with some windy conditions as well. You notice here off the ECMWF that as we progress towards the weekend, And it's really once you get these areas of low pressure that are kind of sticking around, some of the earlier model runs, the GFS, ECMWF, the Met Office, had these areas of low pressure kind of progressing eastwards, but the lack of eastward progress means that we're not going to see that the colder air coming down. But it does look as if the latest run of the ECM has that colder air filtering south over the British Isles with more areas of low pressure. That looks as if the high pressure train, or the persistency in high pressure that we've seen during the month of February is well and truly over now. We will see interludes of high pressure, but the predominant driving mechanism through the remainder of the month, I think, is indeed low pressure. But you notice here that we stay largely in the milder theme as we progress towards the end of the month, as you can see here. So we may get an intrusion of colder air coming in late this week into the weekend, but it doesn't look as if it's going to stick around. It looks as if we're going to have a back and forth type scenario. Looking at the overview chart here of the model, let's go back to the current setup. Fairly rainy conditions here just to the east of, or to the west of Inverness at the moment here. East, I'm getting confused as to where I'm just to the east in a place called Ardseer, east of Inverness on the Murray coast. So we've got plenty of rain, as you can see here. Follow the isobars, they're coming from a west to southwesterly direction. So we're importing air from the subtropical Atlantic into the British Isles, and therefore we maintain this fairly mild theme. As we progress towards the middle portion of the week, we've got later tomorrow into Wednesday, we've got a band of rain moving in, increased wind, but a heavy persistent spell of wet weather, I think, into Wednesday morning. Then we've got that area of low pressure that kind of comes a little bit closer, but we've got quite the squeeze in the isobars, meaning we're going to see west to southwesterly gales developing across a broad area of the British Isles, actually. What we're also seeing is colder air further north getting wrapped around this multi-center low, and indeed we're going to start to see the daytime temperatures, rather than it being 15, possibly 16 Celsius, we're going to start to see the temperatures trim back closer to the average as we go through the middle portion of the week. So you can see here that we have this rash of showers getting blown in on a strong west to southwest wind during the second half of this week. And then, of course, as we progress towards the weekend, you can see that we finally see that area of low pressure sliding to the east. So therefore, that's where that colder air is going to start to come down. We've got an area of low pressure that we need to keep an eye on. That could bring a spell of heavy rain and very strong gusty winds through the channel, this upcoming weekend. But of course, there's a lot of variance in the models as well. So that area of low pressure may not necessarily be literally in that position, once we get to the second half of the weekend here. Of course, we know that we're going to see fluctuations in the model and the output here. Then we've got an area of high pressure that develops here, may bring some fairly cold nights actually with this area of high pressure. Temperatures by daytime average, and then we'll get, of course, cold nights. Keeping an eye on the next system that moves in the early and middle portion of next week. And again, you get the overall idea. We'll have this one system after another piling in off the Atlantic, and that is going to be the mainstay of our weather pattern, I think, through the remainder of this month. Now, this is off weatherbell.com. This is the ECMWF weeklies. This is actually the 30-day anomaly here for both the 500 millibar and the surface here. So what we've got is we still have a negative NAO pattern, and this could be the hangover, so to speak, of that sudden stratospheric warming that took place. We've got the negative over North America, extending across the mid-Atlantic and into the British Isles here. There's that positive extending from Greenland all the way across the top of North America, as you can see. So that would be predominantly a negative NAO pattern for the period 16th of March through the 15th of April. So the ECM weeklies is indicating that we have this upper air pattern for the next 30 days, and indeed temperature-wise, we're looking at average to slightly below average temperatures, which is quite interesting here. This is the global picture. Cold and average across the north of the British Isles, possibly average further south. Look at the United States, quite a cold period. India, Pakistan, into parts of Iran, the Arabian Peninsula below normal, equatorial Africa below average, warmer than average both in North and South Africa, as you can see here. Central and Eastern Europe is warmer than average. Australia warmer than average. Very, very warm conditions across eastern portions of Asia at the moment as well. Let's have a look at the European view. And keep in mind that this is the 30-day period, of course, and it's average across the bulk of England, Wales, and Ireland, below average Northern Ireland and Scotland, as you can see here. Let's look at the 7-day increments here and see what it's showing here. So this is the upcoming 7-day period of the model, if it's going to refresh for me. So it looks as if we've got, in the upcoming 7 days, only the far north below average. The majority of the UK is indeed above average temperature-wise here. Iceland still freezing, the far north of Norway, Sweden and Finland also below average. The majority of Europe, with the exceptions of Turkey and parts of Greece, South Italy, is indeed warmer than average. And into week 2, I do think we start to trim back the anomaly once again, and certainly the ECMWF weeklies. This is for the week 2 period, which indicates that the UK goes back below average again, including parts of France. Still cold, Iceland and northern portions of Scandinavia, as you can see here. Now, the NAO is expected to stay largely negative, if you notice here, which would correspond with the ECMWF weeklies, of course. So that's quite interesting to see. So yeah, very, very wet pattern, that's for sure, over the next week at least anyway. And I think through the remainder of March, it's going to be predominantly a west-driven weather pattern, and certainly a big turnaround precipitation-wise compared to what we've seen back during the month of February, of course. So stick it right here, stay with me, hang back, and we'll wait and see exactly what develops over the next several weeks here. So thanks for watching. As always, I appreciate it. Drop a comment down in the section below, and of course, hit that like button, share with your friends and family, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. See you again, hopefully tomorrow with more. Bye for now.